This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. It's time for the Hot Take Show. This is the show where I listen to your hot takes and react to them. We go through the videos of the week and we look at the comment section and we react to what you put down. All right, this first video that I'm reacting to is the Browns bring back Kareem Hunt. The running game is in good hands. Mr. Red Pants says, the emotional and sentimental aspect of Hunt coming in for the team and fans should not be discounted. The backdrop of the friendship between these two and Kareem being a Clevelander makes it a great story. From a standpoint, it eased some of my pains of Chubb's absence and injury. I have hope again. I think two things should do that for us. One, Jerome Ford was really good in that game after Chubb went down. I think that has not been talked about nearly enough. And two, I think that Kareem Hunt, we know that he's good. We know that he's good in this system. We know that it's going to work. We're not really projecting much there. We know he's familiar with this team. So we feel really good about this team's ability to have a sustained rushing attack. And we know that, hey, there's going to be a drop off with Nick Chubb, but it's not going to be a giant drop off. We feel like the running game is in good hands. All right. T. Majan says, I think this makes the most sense, Q. He knows the offense front to back, not saying he'll be what he was a few years ago, but he doesn't need to be. He can still be pretty productive and bring that veteran presence and familiar. Yeah, I think that's going to be what they want from him. Kind of like a Mark Ingram type role for him when Mark Ingram came back to the Saints, maybe get like 500 to 600 yards. If he wants 1,000, he can get it in this kind of an offense. But yeah, get like that kind of production, be productive while he's out there, and just be a veteran. Just have that veteran presence, be there in third down, help doing the pass protection stuff, be the extra quarterback on the field, as they like to call some of these running backs when they're third down back. So that's going to be important for him. All right, the next the next comment, my bad, is from Greg, who says, for your Q&A. That's why I got confused. Do you think we'll see two back sets with Ford and Hunt, where either one or both end up catching passes on non-screen type plays, like send wide receivers deep and have one of them run a short 5-yard route to give them the ball in some open space? I think this will be great for the RPO game, and will give Watson some more flexibility with what he can do. Love the content, man. Keep up the good work. I just think there are better ways to go about accomplishing that. If you want to get these guys in open space, you can send Kareem Hunt out wide in an empty set and have him run, a shallow cross or something like that. They do that already. You can have them at the edge of the line and have them run an angle from the edge of the line, get them in open space in the middle of the field. I don't think you need to have two backs on the field in order to do that. And I think that they would prefer to have, do some of these sets where they have wide receivers in at running back versus having two running backs in. I don't think, look, that 22 personnel package has always been hyped about, especially when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were on the same team. Well, now they're on the same team, but on the field at the same time. And it's never lived up to the hype. I don't think the two running backs on the same field thing does what people think it does. I think it's just another version. It's just a lighter version of 13, but you have less versatility. I just don't think it's that great of a formation, to be honest with you. I don't think it really causes many problems for defenses, especially modern ones. These next comments are from the video, the Q&A, that says, is it more likely that Watson gets benched or Stefanski gets fired? A lot of interesting comments on this one. Q's right, guys. We're open. Okay, Q's right. Guys were open. Watson was just missing them. Both him and the line have to do far better. My biggest fear is that he's not processing the game fast enough, and who knows when he's going to get back. I would say Where you don't want to be with Watson, if you have to be here, because nobody wants to be here, but if you have to be here, where you don't want to be with Watson is feel like he's regressed physically. The good news is that it doesn't look physical. And I remember being here with the Baker Mayfield labrum thing, telling you guys this. The good thing is that the issue is not physical. It honestly looks to me like he just needs game reps and to be comfortable in this system. Now, what is the level of that comfort? I don't know. I hope he's comfortable enough that he rips some of these middle field plays that are open, that he has trust, that his guys are going to get open on some of these designs. Like, I hope he gets to a point to where he trusts the offense. Right now, it feels like he's fighting the offense. The offense would do so much for him if he trusted it. But right now, it feels like he just fights it. And I remember having a similar feeling to that in 2021 with Baker Mayfield, where it felt like he was fighting the offense. And it was more puzzling for him because we saw the year before how much the offense did for him when he trusted it. So that's what I want to see from Watson. See him trust this offense, see him get comfortable. I think it's possible that he gets there. I know he's going to get more comfortable. I know he's going to look better. The question is how comfortable, how much better? Like, am I going to be breaking down film 10 weeks from now saying, hey, you don't got to wait to see it. You should throw it because you know it's going to be there based on what you just saw, the look. You just got to trust that. Are we going to be there with him, or are we going to be at a place where I'm not complaining about that because he's doing that? We'll see. We'll see. I'm not convinced either way of what's going to happen there. So, you know, that's just a wait and see type thing. 360 Addict says, at first I was worried about having the bye week so early, but at this point, I think it's a blessing, depending on how the next 2 weeks go to get things in order. Yes. Yes. And then having that bye week before that San Francisco game is also important. Look, they need to get their shit together before that game. I think you could struggle and possibly beat the Titans. I think you could struggle offensively and possibly beat the Ravens. You are not going to sit here and struggle offensively and do a damn thing against the 49ers. So, yes, it's fortunate how the schedule has laid out for them. I think that bye week is right where it needs to be early, because if we sputter, let's say the Browns sputter to like 2-2 at the bye. All right, you know that something needs to get fixed out real quick during this bye week. You know, you have the time to do that, the time to make the adjustments, give people the proper come to Jesus moments that they may or may not need in order to get right. You got to get the get right going. And the bye week is for the get right going, and you need to get the get right going as early as possible. I hope y'all understood what it was I was trying to say, because that made perfect sense in my head. All right, the next comment comes from Billy Cundiff. Not Billy Cundiff, but a Billy Cundiff fan, who says, Stefanski has boosted every quarterback he's coached here prior to Watson. Baker was really good, Brissett was super solid, and even Nick Mullins was serviceable in this one game. There are people open, Watson just has to find them. The anger towards the coach is so confusing. People are angry at the coach because the coach feels like the easy thing to blame. And to be honest, I can't really blame people for being mad at the coach, because I feel like a lot of how we're taught to talk about football kind of makes it a natural reaction that something goes wrong with your team. Let's fire your coach. It's an instinct. It's a habit that a lot of sports fans pick up no matter what the sports. How many Hall of Fame coaches have been fired? Right? That's just what everybody's go-to is. Something goes wrong with the team, blame the coach. The coach is always the first guy to kind of be thrown under the bus whenever anything goes wrong. And if you don't believe me, look at all of the most heroic NFL coaches coaching right now. Almost all of them have been fired. Bill Belichick, he's been fired. You can go to Andy Reid. He's been fired. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. He's been fired, right? Good coaches get fired all the time, not because they're doing a bad job necessarily, but because when stuff goes wrong, that's who gets fired, right? You go back to that list. Bill Belichick got fired. That 94 Browns team was supposed to be really good. Well, the 94 team was good. The 95 Browns team was supposed to get really good. They're derailed by the news of them moving. Bill Belichick was not necessarily the most media lovable coach to bring in a new team with. So when that team makes that move to Baltimore, they decide to not bring him. And also the team underwhelmed heavily. And Belichick was blamed for that. Gets fired, goes to New England, eventually becomes the greatest coach of all time. Andy Reid, another one, right? He wasn't always at Kansas City. People who are my age remember him as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. Had those years with Donovan McNabb, was originally the offensive coordinator for Brett Favre. All these great things that he's done throughout his career. But then he gets to a rough patch where, I think it was like the end of Mike Vick, and they weren't living up to expectations, and he got fired. He's still a good coach. Gets to Kansas City, coaches well. Doug Peterson, they take a chance on. They spend a lot of money on Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz stinks. He gets fired. He goes to another spot. He's fine. Not Carson Wentz, but Doug Peterson. Good coaches get fired all the time. And the reason that good coaches get fired all the time is because, everybody's instinct when something goes wrong with their team is to fire their coach. Like I said this in the last Q&A video, but literally firing your coach is the equivalent of breaking your controller. Oftentimes, you don't even feel that good after you did it. You kind of feel dumb. And then you end up having to get a new controller that's kind of the same that you just got rid of, that you just broke, that you just blame for. It's like blaming your controller for losing. That's what it is. That's what it is. Firing your coach is breaking your controller. And, when you lose a game and you blame it on your controller, you're basically doing the same instinct that we do when your team loses and you blame the coach. The coach is the controller of the team, right? We just blame him. Not his fault most of the time, but people just blame him, and that's how we are used to doing this. And people will defend doing this, and they'll say it's accountability, it's this and that. But just look at all the good coaches in NFL. Most of them have been fired. It's not rocket science. It's just an instinct that not just we have as fans, but people who make these decisions, more importantly, they have those same instincts. But yeah, that's why coaches get fired all the time. And that's why, whenever anything goes wrong, people are going to point at Stefanski because that's what sports media has taught people to do. I can't blame people for doing that. That's years of indoctrination. Browns fans are ready to move on. Are we ready to move on to Tennessee? This is a video I did early in the morning. Bradley says, I really need to hear this, Q. I'm one of those normally level-headed fans that suddenly grew tired of creating excuses for DeSean after Monday's performance. Thanks for putting things in perspective and bringing me back down to earth. What's the interesting thing about DeSean is I feel like the perfect analogy for Browns fans' frustration. And if you're a video gamer, if you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about, is to compare him to a delayed video game. The DeSean Watson experience has been eerily similar to the Cyberpunk 2077 experience, or at least we hope it is, right? And what I mean by that is DeSean Watson feels like a delayed video game. He gets traded for in March. We know there's going to be a delay, but that's when we know that DeSean Watson is going to play for the Cleveland Browns, right? In March. That debut gets pushed all the way back to November because he gets suspended for violating the league's policy on sexual conduct. So that gets delayed till November. Then we get to November, and it very much clearly looks like a work in progress. Okay, cool. This was early access. Okay, they're going to patch all this stuff. We're going to get that day one patch, and it's going to be all right, right? We did the same thing with Cyberpunk. Oh my gosh, yeah, it kind of looks buggy. It kind of looks like a mess. Some of the early reviews aren't great. But you know what? They're going to day one patch this thing. They're going to fix all them bugs. And then we get to Monday Night Football, and that's the day we already have seen the day one patch. We done talked about the day one patch. The day one patch goes live, and we play that game, and it's still kind of buggy. And now we're starting to be like, yo, is this just the game? Now, eventually, if you know you're gaming, you know that Cyberpunk got patched, and they ended up fixing it. It's a really good game now. But that's not how people felt. People felt like people had all of this anticipation that they had for this game, the same way we have all of this anticipation that we've been having for DeSean Watson and his debut in Cleveland. We've had all this anticipation for him. We've been anticipating him coming since March. I've been making videos about how this offense is going to blow up since March. We have yet to see a 300-yard game with this man. We've yet to see 4 good quarters with the man. So, of course, people are frustrated. They've been waiting a year and a half to see this man throw for close to 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and we ain't got it yet. It's the middle of September. We still ain't got it. We thought we was going to get this. We still ain't got it. Now people are frustrated. Their anticipation, their excitement has turned to animosity. It's where people are. That's where you probably are, Noah. And that there's no shame in being that. The same way the people who were critical of Cyberpunk and critical of the state of the game were right and probably helpful in getting that fix, is the same way that, you know, being critical about this team, being critical about what you see is probably going to be helpful to get this offense fixed, because they need to fix it. This needs a patch. This needs multiple patches. The DeSean Watson trade, Cyberpunk 2077, I hope it's the same thing, because right now it's been the same thing. It could be another mess. Like, there's a lot of games come out broken and just stay broken. So it could be that, but I'm a hope for Cyberpunk 2077. That's what I'm a hope for in this thing. So if you're a gamer, you understood every word of what I just said. If you are not a gamer, I'm sorry for confusing you for the last couple of minutes. Let's move on. All right. Can the Browns defense shut down Derrick Henry? Brian says, one thing I really miss about winning, yes, I was around in the mid-'80s, is how much smarter the fan base appeared to be. They were quiet when our offense was on the field. They were loud and nasty when the defense was on the field. And when there was no chance, they would boo the team in week 3. Oh, and there was no chance that they would boo the team in week 3. My bad. Sorry about that. Winning is currency. That's what I'll say. Winning is currency. When you win a lot of games, you have time to understand, hey, you know, I don't need to be loud when the offense is out there. I don't need to do this when the offense is out there. I don't need to panic as much, because you win a lot. And when you win, you get the benefit of the doubt, and you're not worried about, is the offense going to stink, and your anxiety is not controlling how you're reacting to the game, and you just get to relax. I remember when I was in college, people would talk about this all the time, because I was in like the student section committee. But people would complain, why is Youngstown State's fans aren't as smart as North Dakota State fans? Because if you don't know FCS football, North Dakota State, they've won like 12 national championships. They always go to the national championship game. They had like a 3 or 4 year undefeated streak within FCS football, and even beat some Power 5 teams during that run. I believe they're undefeated versus Power 5 teams. But the fact is that North Dakota State had smart fans. You play at North Dakota State, offense is out there, silent. It's like the dome is empty. Then your team comes out there, they're loud, they're throwing stuff, they're rabid. Very smart fan base. Well, when you win a lot, you got time to be like, oh, the offense is out there, let me shut up. Because you're not sitting there yapping about how mad you are at the offense. Because you're not. Because you're winning. Because when you win, it's currency, right? When you're not winning, you ain't got time for none of that. You worried about this offense. You worried about getting a first down. We frustrated. So that's why, right? If the fan bases that are the smart ones are the ones that win the most. Because once you get used to winning, you understand, okay, this helps. But if you're just worried about going 500 every year, well, of course your fans are going to be a little bit restless, because what do you expect? You know what I mean? It would be impossible to expect this fan base, after seeing 20 years of terrible football, to just sit around, turn around and be like, we're going to be a winning fan base. We're going to shut up during this, and we're going to do all this stuff that we need to do. It's impossible. You got to win the games before you can earn that. And right now the Browns haven't earned the respect from the crowd over their resume from the last 20 years to get that kind of treatment. They put together a couple 12-win seasons. They'll get that. We'll shut up during all that and do all that and not boo the team and everything that they want. But right now, the Browns haven't earned that respect. You got to earn the respect from your home crowd. And the teams that have it, when you see that the offense is out there quiet, like dead pin silent, it's because they've earned it over the years. And the second they get a new squad of guys that aren't the old squad of guys that ain't as good, that respect goes out the window and all that stuff we was talking about goes away. Because at one point in time, Youngstown State fans used to be quiet when the offense was out there. But they haven't won a national championship since 2001. So now when I went there in 2013 to 17, we wasn't quiet when the offense was out there. You got to earn that respect is all my point is. So I understand what you're saying. I understand the frustration, but you got to earn that respect. The DeSean Watson cut, this is the film breakdown I did on DeSean Watson. Has Cedric Tillman seen one target? How come the Browns never give their rookies a chance? Yeah, I would love to see Cedric Tillman get more snaps. Honestly, I would love to see him get some of the snaps that Donovan Peoples-Jones is getting. I think they need a 50-50 ball guy with some good size. I think Elijah Moore is too small to get those balls. I think that should be Cedric Tillman. I think they should give him an opportunity for that. Gory Blue says, somehow watching this makes me feel better about the game going forward. It's a lot of minor mistakes and mental errors. I'm just worried if the coaches can actively adjust and correct them. It's almost a meme how much Kevin mentions making adjustments in the post-game interview. Thanks for your effort. Look, I don't know why people make fun of coaches for like saying the same thing, but like football is a lot of the same thing. It's a lot of making adjustments. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of that. You look around any coach, Mike Tomlin, he'll say the same stuff every press conference. Same thing with Bill Belichick. It is what it is. Genso says, hour-long film breakdown for free. I love this channel. A couple things I noticed for the game that were reinforced by watching this. Donovan Peoples-Jones looked lethargic, mentally out of it. I think there might be some frustration there with Moore moving into the wide receiver 2 slot target-wise and DPJ getting way fewer looks. Or I think this DPJ just had a bad game. I don't think he had an attitude or nothing. Teller got cooked. He's very streaky for an old lineman, and this was not a good game for him. Absolutely, 100% true. And then Watson definitely didn't look good, but he did flash some elite throws. I don't think he's unsalvageable. I would agree with that. Moore looks electric. He's so athletic. His cuts are just great to watch. Amari looked incredible. If he didn't play, we'd probably lose by more than 4. I would agree with most of these points. I would love to see them get Elijah Moore the ball in the middle of the field more. I don't think Donovan Peoples-Jones needs to be taking 62. I think if I saw the number, he took 62 slot snaps so far this season. I think he needs to be as far away from the slot as possible. Put Elijah Moore in the slot. I think he's much more helpful. Donovan Peoples-Jones has a hard time being on time. Sometimes his routes are just ugh. And I would like to see, honestly, I would like to see him and Cedric Tillman split some reps because I think Cedric Tillman is more useful with DeSean than Donovan Peoples-Jones, given the personnel that they have. They need a 50-50 ball guy there. I think Tillman's better suited for that than Donovan Peoples-Jones. But that's it for this week. This week's hot take video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.